Hi everyone, welcome back to OC Aviary for episode 11 of Breeding British Birds. Now, since the changes that we made in last week's episode, moving a number of the birds about, we've got some very exciting news and good news to tell you about in today's video, which includes a pair of very special native birds have finally gone to nest. We've got some new additions of species we've never bred before, so all things to look forward to today. Now we're going to start today's episode off with the Siskin mules. Now it's been a few weeks since we last saw these guys and they're getting on really well. Just remember we have 2 canary hens with 1 Siskin cockbird. It's a brown pastel European Siskin cock with a yellow dimorphic hen and a clear cinnamon hen. Now we have 4 youngsters from these already, which are in the young bird room. They're doing great. We've got a normal, we've got a cinnamon hen and 2 cinnamon cockbirds, all which look fantastic. And we've just welcomed 3 more that hatched about 5 days ago. And what's quite interesting with these is that they didn't have the red eyes that I would expect them to have as, sort of when they've just hatched, which means to me that they could be cockbirds, but they kind of look not normal. They look cinnamon. So I don't really know, but we'll see what happens, and I'll of course update you in future episodes to see what these guys turn out like. But they're looking really good, and I need to ring them in a few days' time. And we've also got the clear cinnamon hen on a few eggs. I think there's 4 eggs under. I think 2 of them have fallen. They're due next week. And we also have 1 more Siskin mule, actually from the clear cinnamon hen, under a pair of new colours. The egg was in with the frill canaries from the pair that had the hen passed away a few weeks ago. So those frill chicks, well, one of them is turned out to be a Siskin mule, and they're all doing really well as well. So we've got a number of Siskin mules coming out now, which is excellent news. Don't forget, we also have a Linnet mule pair. Now, these guys have not done a particularly lot this breeding season. We've got a Linnet cockbird with a red factor hen up here. Now, about a month ago, we found that the pair had 4 full eggs. She was sat on them, and at 10 days into incubation, the Linnet cockbird smashed them all except 1, which I managed to save, and I've put under a pair of Rasa canaries. Well, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, that egg hatched and that chick has now completely jumped the nest. So here you can see it. It's a Linnet mule, so it's a Linnet cockbird with a red factor hen. I don't know if it's a cock or a hen, this particular mule, and I've put it in a Norwich show cage, just a lighter coloured show cage to give you a bit more contrast, because it is obviously quite a dull looking bird at this moment in time. It's very similar to a sparrow, so not the most exciting thing, but I'm hopeful that if it is a cockbird, it'll molt out and be a fantastic colour. So I'm really excited because this is the first Linnet mule I've ever bred, so fingers crossed all goes well with it and it molts out nice and is in fact a cockbird for us. Finally, towards the end of the breeding season, we've started to pick up a bit of momentum with the greenies. It's been a relatively rough year, but we've started to get that little bit of luck now, and hopefully, it's going to show for us as we get youngsters out now. So the pair in flight 5, they had some chicks hatch about a month ago now. They jumped the nest about 2 weeks ago. They've been picking up food by themselves, they've been drinking by themselves, and they're pretty much self-sufficient now, which means that they're ready to be weaned off into the young bird room with the rest of the young greenfinches that we've got. So what I'm going to do is, because greenfinches are quite prone to coccidiosis and moving them away from the parents to an unfamiliar environment stresses them out, I'm going to give them a 3-day course of baycocks. It's going to go in the water. It's the only water they're going to have access to. They're going to drink that for 3 days, and then I'm going to wean them off. They're going to move into the young bird room. Then I'm going to give them another 3-day course of medication straight after. So overall, it's 6 days. Now, this has worked really well for me in the past. Touch wood, I've yet to lose any youngsters from coccidiosis when weaning them away since I've been doing this. Previous to doing this and not giving them any coccidiosis medication, I have lost them for this exact reason. So this has worked nicely for me, and a number of experienced greenfinch breeders have told me how to do this as well, as that has been successful for those as well. The pair of greenies in flight 4, this is one of my better pairs of greenies, and we've got 3 youngsters just over a week old now. I rung them a few days ago. They're doing excellent. Both parents are rearing them well, feeding them, so really good signs from them, and I must admit that's a huge relief for me, because I thought we're going to have a pair of birds that are really good, that are another year older without producing for us, but everything so far has gone all right with them. 3 youngsters in the nest, looking good. The pair in flight 3 have, of course, built up again. And this time they've built up on top of the nest site, not in the nest site, in the fake cover. They've built it on a metal bracket, so I'm confident that the nest won't fall through like it did a few weeks ago. But we'll see what happens with those. And the pair in flight 2 have got 2 eggs in this front nest site here. However, one of them's full, one of them's clear, and it's due in a few days' time. I don't know if the hen will rear 1 chick, so I'm going to have to see what canaries I've got that are due around the same time. Maybe not even canaries, maybe something else that might foster them for us. So fingers crossed everything goes all right with them. We also have 2 pairs of greenfinches in the bird room, which are both doing really quite well. We've got 2 youngsters being fostered under some canaries after the mother stopped feeding them at 3 days old. They're now about 10 days old, I believe. They're pretty much fully feathered. I rung them a few days ago and they're looking excellent. And the 2 chicks that are from the pair in the aluminium flight cage are doing great. They jumped the nest last week. They've started to pick up a little bit of food, but it's going to be a good week and a half, maybe 2 weeks before we even look to wean them. And the mother is going back to nest for hopefully another round, which will be successful for us as it's the last round of the breeding season will be taken. Last week we had a bit of a move about with a couple of different pairs of Redpoles, a pair here and a pair over there. We moved them up and to just some different places where hopefully they might be more successful. However, so far a week in they haven't been. They've been picking up material and showing signs of being in condition, but they actually haven't made any effort to go to nest or lay us any eggs. So I think maybe it'll be next year if we do breed those pairs. But for the rest of them, we have got some good news. It does start with a bit of bad news, which is from this pair. They had 4 full eggs, or 4 full eggs-ish. 2 of them stopped developing early on. I don't know why. 2 of them were full, 1 of them hatched, and that 1 chick that hatched stopped being fed at a day old. Tried to save it under some canaries, and it didn't work, and we lost that chick. The good news is that that pair has just laid the 3rd egg today for what will be their last round. So I'm hoping they will be full. The pair over here have got 6 full eggs. Yeah, that's right, 6 full eggs. And they're due this weekend. Now, they had 3 chicks in their last round. They stopped feeding them as soon as they jumped the nest, and I don't really know why. We've got 1 of the chicks, which is in the young bird room. We lost the other 2, as only 1 of them was actually at a point where it could try and feed itself, and we managed to bring it round. For this pair down here, they have got 3 chicks. Now, what's interesting with this pair is they keep throwing the chicks out. I don't know why, but they do. At 2 days old, I've not touched the chicks, I just knew that they were there. The parents were doing a great job of feeding them, and then I came in one morning to find all 3 of them stone cold on the floor. I warmed them up in the palm of my hand, brought them round, put them back in the nest, and it was fine for another 2 days. Until then, every morning since then, I've found 1 of the chicks on the floor, had to warm it up, and put it back in the nest. Don't know why. The parents are doing a great job at being parents, of feeding them and keeping them warm, but just not very good at not throwing them out the nest. But they're nearly ready to be rung now, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I get them to that point and they go all right. And for a pair very down at the bottom, we have a normal cock with a cobalt hen. They have hatched us 4 youngsters just this morning. 3 of them are Redpoles. 1 of them is a Linnet, so they're under there. I've seen the parents going to and from with a few piggies and some egg food, and they're doing a good job of rearing them. I just need to find out which one's a Linnet, because I believe they have to be rung with C rings, not B rings, so I will have to find that out in time for next week. But they're looking really good. Now, that pair also laid a single stray egg on the floor about 5 weeks ago. I popped under a pair of Rasa canaries, which is the same pair that's reared me the Linnet mule, and that chick hatched and is doing really well. It's jumped the nest and it's feeding itself, and that's a little cobalt. It's the first cobalt I've bred in a few years now. It's looking really good, and you can see it here in a Norwich show cage. It's a nice looking chick. So far, that's 3 Redpole chicks on the stick so far this season. A very special pair of birds here at OC Avery have finally gone to nest, and that is the Bramblefinches, also known as the Bramblings. Now, we've had quite a rough time with this pair, let's be honest. We picked them up at the start of March, which is not a long time for them to settle in and get accustomed to the whole environment and bring them into condition. At the beginning of April, the cockbird lost 1 of his legs in a freak accident where he trapped it in the side of a cage and smashed it all up too late before I could actually get to him. Then We saw no signs of them being interested for probably 2.5 months until the beginning of June, when the pair's beaks started to darken and the cockbird made those weird shrieking noises. Finally, we're 3 weeks into June. The hen has built a nest, which we saw she was doing in last week's episode, and she's finally laid 4 eggs. Sadly, one of those eggs she did lay off the perch, and I found it smashed in the morning. It was the first egg and I was gutted. However, the following 3 eggs were laid in the nest site, and she's now been sat for 2 days on those 3 eggs on the nest site, which is right across from the door. So really positive news from the bramble finches. I'm so excited. I feel very fortunate that I've got this pair of birds to actually go to nest for us. If you don't know much about bramble finches, they're a relative of the chaffinch. They're a migratory visitor to the UK, and they're only here in winter really to come and eat our berries, because they've ran out in Scandinavia and it's warmer here, believe it or not, than it is over there. And they rarely, if ever, breed here in the UK in the wild. So I'm very fortunate to have these guys, and I'm just so excited that we've got them to this point now. So we'll see what happens, but I keep giving them some live food. So I'm giving them some buffaloes and some pinkies. They've got a soft bill mix as well, which is like a soft bill mix. They've got a British finch mix, and I'm giving them a little bit of the normal egg food as well. We're going to have to see if the eggs are full next week. If they are, we're going to have to go on a trip to one of the local live food suppliers to get enough live food to supply these guys, not only to feed themselves, but also the chicks if we get that far. So please keep your fingers crossed for us, because I am so excited that we finally got to this point. And if success wasn't enough for you with the bramble finches, we've also got some with the twites. Now, last episode, we changed things up for the twites. We removed the divider to give the twites the whole 6-foot aviary. We then introduced another cockbird. So in there, we've got 2 twite cocks and 1 hen. The idea of this was to, 1, give some competition to the original cockbird that's bonded to the hen, which may spur him on to mate with her successfully, because previously we've had clear eggs, or the other cockbird would fill the eggs for us, and we've got a really good chance of actually breeding some twites this breeding season. Well, the pair we're building up, or the trio we're building up last week, the hen is now on the nest. She has got a number of eggs under her. I don't know how many there is. I can just see when I peer over, there is some eggs in there. And I feel that there's a really good chance that those eggs could be full, because I've seen both cockbirds this time mating with her. So we'll see what happens. But the twites have really started to come on now. I've seen both cockbirds looking after and feeding the hen while she's been on the nest. We might get some success, we might not. It could all go horribly wrong, or it could go really well. So we'll see what happens in next week's episode. So that's it for episode 11 of Breeding British Birds today. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and we've got some very exciting news coming for episode 12 of the show. So if you want to see that and more from OC Aviary, please make sure to subscribe down below and smash a like on this video if you've enjoyed it today. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook for daily updates and behind the scenes footage of all of the birds. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.